So, Christmas came early this year because Nintendo has just been dropping everything lately. A new app, financial results, new games, everything. And I just wanted to talk about some of it. I think the biggest news is definitely that Nintendo confirmed that they will be making an announcement about the successor to the Switch before the end of the fiscal year in March 2025. Meaning, we will get Switch 2 news within the next 4 to 5 months. It's almost kind of surreal, given that the original Switch has lasted so long, and the fact that Nintendo has been somewhat tight-lipped about what's going on with their next console. The original Switch came out in March 2017, meaning we will most likely reach the 8-year anniversary of the console before the Switch 2 is released. Think about that, man, 8 years, that's nearly a decade. If you were in high school when the Switch came out, you've probably already graduated from college by now, and you've discovered the brutal suffering of being an adult. The Switch had a pretty long lifespan by Nintendo console standards. In fact, if you consider the Switch a home console, starting with the release of the Famicom/NES in 1983, this is the longest Nintendo has gone without a new home console release. The shortest being the gap between the Wii U and the Switch, which was only 4 years and 4 months. And the longest being the gap between the Famicom and the Super Famicom/SNES, which lasted 7 years and 4 months. The Switch has currently been around for 7 years and 8 months, so naturally, Nintendo has been making some moves for the release of their next console, the Switch 2. Well, we don't actually know if it's going to be called the Switch 2 or not. Nintendo has just been calling it the successor to Nintendo Switch. Now, funnily enough, I think the name for this console is actually kinda important. If you remember the whole Wii and Wii U debacle, there were people who didn't know if the Wii U was a new console or just some tablet attachment for the Wii, and it was just really messy. Nintendo doesn't really do 2s when it comes to console names. They do 64, but not 2s apparently. So I highly doubt they'll call the Switch successor the Switch 2. Although, that might be the smartest decision, so that people know definitively that this is a new thing and not just some upgrade. They could call it something completely different, but I have no idea what that would be, and I think they want to stick with the Nintendo Switch branding, considering how successful the console has been. Nintendo announced that the Switch has sold over 146 million units, which makes it their second best-selling console ever, right behind the Nintendo DS at 154 million. And honestly, I still think the Switch can pass the DS. The holiday season is coming up, so you know people are going to be buying it, and even after the Switch successor comes out, I'm sure plenty of people will still buy the old Switch due to its cheaper price, and because there will likely still be a considerable amount of game releases for the original Switch. It's been 4 years since the PS5 came out, meaning we're likely halfway through this console generation, and we're only just now seeing a noticeable drop-off in the amount of high-profile games getting last-gen PS4 releases. Even after the Switch came out in 2017, Nintendo continued to publish 3DS games into 2019. Speaking of the 3DS, one feature that console had that I think will help the Switch 2 out a lot is backwards compatibility. Nintendo recently announced that the Switch 2 will be backwards compatible with original Switch games. I think everyone figured that would be the case since it would be extremely dumb for Nintendo to completely start their library over from scratch. The Switch has one of the biggest and most diverse libraries in gaming history. Losing that would be a nightmare. Nintendo has flirted with backwards compatibility in their consoles over the years. Their handhelds pretty consistently had backwards compatibility. The Game Boy Color could play Game Boy games, the Game Boy Advance could play Game Boy Color and Game Boy games, the DS could play Game Boy Advance games, and the 3DS could play DS games. However, with Nintendo home consoles, they only really did backwards compatibility with the Wii and the Wii U. The Wii could play GameCube games, and the Wii U could play Wii games. In the future, I think backwards compatibility is going to be a staple requirement for game consoles. Starting from ground zero when a console first releases just isn't a smart idea, especially since now you can't use incompatible physical mediums as an excuse, because digitally downloading games has become so prominent. One thing that Nintendo talked about in their recent financial results is how much of a positive impact the Switch being a hybrid console has had over the years. It's something I didn't really think much about until now, but it actually does make a lot of sense. In the past, Nintendo would have two core consoles they were managing at one time, a home console and a handheld. Heck, sometimes they'd even have 3 consoles they were trying to manage at one time, like with the GameCube, the GBA, and the DS. But with the 3DS officially being discontinued in 2020, Nintendo could put all of their focus onto one console, the Switch. They didn't have to make sure that there was a good lineup of handheld games and a good lineup of home console games every summer and every holiday season. They could just allocate development to one console, leading to it having a massive library. So let's talk a little bit about the sales of that library. Nintendo reported that sales of the Switch and its games were down around 30% this half of the fiscal year compared to last year's first half, which isn't too surprising. The Switch has been around for nearly 8 years, and the massive growth that they saw between 2017 and 2021 just wasn't sustainable. Also, I think last year just had a better variety of games. I know calendar years and fiscal years don't line up exactly because Nintendo ends their fiscal years at the end of March, but just looking at 2023 as a whole, they released Fire Emblem Engage, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Remastered, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Pikmin 4, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. But in 2024, Nintendo decided, screw the Year of Shadow, this is the year of Mario. Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Remake, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Mario and Luigi Brothers Ship, Princess Peach Showtime, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. That Mario movie came out last year and Nintendo did not look back. They went all in on Mario and Mario related IPs this year, which may or may not have hurt them. However, sales were still good in the first half of the fiscal year, with over 4.5 million consoles sold and over 70 million software sales, so the console is continuing to perform well. Of course, with the holiday season, there's going to be plenty of games to boost sales, like the new Zelda Echoes of Wisdom and Mario and Luigi Brothers Ship. And moving into 2025, there's going to be new games like Pokemon Legends ZA and hopefully Metroid Prime 4. While we're talking about game releases in 2025, let's talk about a new 3D Mario game. So, technically, we did get Bowser's Fury in 2021. I don't want to not mention that, but come on, that wasn't a full brand new 3D Mario game like Odyssey or Super Mario Galaxy, which is why I think we'll be getting a big new mainline 3D Mario game as a launch title for the Switch 2. I'm fairly confident Nintendo knows they need a strong headliner to sell the Switch 2, and since we just got Zelda Tears of the Kingdom last year, I highly doubt there's going to be another mainline Zelda game for 2025. Mainline Zeldas take like 5 to 6 years to make now. Despite the fact that Mario Odyssey and Zelda Breath of the Wild both came out in 2017, we've yet to get another brand new mainline Mario, which is why I think that game is the perfect candidate for a Switch 2 launch title. And personally, I'm predicting that the Switch 2 will launch in October. Why, you might ask? Well, let me put on my crazy conspiracy theory hat here. One pattern I noticed is that Nintendo likes to release Mario games in October. Since the Switch released in 2017, Nintendo has consistently released a new Mario game on the Switch every single October. 2017 was Mario Odyssey, 2018 was Super Mario Party, 2019 was Luigi's Mansion 3, 2020 was Super Mario Bros. 35, 2021 was Mario Party Superstars, 2022 was Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, 2023 was Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and 2024 was Super Mario Party Jamboree. Like I said, I expect the new 3D Mario game to be a launch title for the Switch 2. In recent years, typically Mario has gotten releases in October, so I predict the Switch successor will release in October as well. But anyways, yeah, I'll be keeping up with what's happening regarding the Switch successor and Nintendo in the upcoming future, because they have been making a lot of moves. I did want to talk a little bit more about Nintendo Music, but I want to wait to see if Nintendo adds more stuff to the app first. If you want to check out the first video I did on Nintendo Music, here it is, and here's a playlist of some other videos you might be interested in. That's all I've got to talk about for today though, so thanks for watching y'all, and have a great rest of your day.